All right, we got 1 minute, everyone. 1 minute warning. Everyone, we're going to get this city council meeting to order. Today is February 5th, 2024, and I will call this meeting to order. We'll start with the invocation with Pastor David Butler.
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for all your mighty works. We thank you that you are the Lord of our city. We thank you for our city and those that serve. Thank you for our elected officials, the businesses, the churches, the families, our schools and educators. And Father, we thank you for our strong military community and our veterans. We ask that you watch over our law enforcement and first responders. We thank you for the individuals that make our city great. We ask a special blessing upon them tonight, and thank you for John Stevens being willing to serve on this council. And now the priestly blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you, and may he give you his peace. Amen.
Everyone, please put their hand over their heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right. David, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Always coming and doing that. Faith Assembly Christian Church, a.k.a. the Rock and Roll Church. All right. Up next, I will look for a agenda approval.
Motion to approve, second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussions? Seeing
Mayor?
none.
Mayor,
Oh,
we have the inauguration first.
oh. I see it. Sorry, John. It's a random insert there. Awesome. Go ahead.
Please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible. Repeat after me. I
I, John Stevens,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
and am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
that I will and faithfully perform
the duties of Destin City Council member
the duties of Destin City Council member,
on which I am now about to enter.
in which I'm now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Appreciate it. Cool.
Sorry about that, John. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
You want to say anything?
Pretty much just want to say thanks to council for believing in me. Looking forward to helping the city keep on moving forward, and I'm ready to get to work.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being up here. Thank you so much.
It's like Taylor Swift over here. Everybody's snapping pictures.
All right. I got my motion and second still for the agenda approval, so we'll go ahead with the vote. Calling the vote. And then hit the green for proceed. right, ayes have it, so moved. There we go. All right, up first, we'll go into public comments. So at this time, I'll start on my right, stage left, 3 minutes at the mic. If anyone wants to come up, this is your time to do so. Middle of the crowd, yep. Name and address, the floor is yours.
Greg Fisher, 1232 Emerald Bay Drive, Destin, Florida. I just want to acknowledge John Stevens for, being appointed for Destin City Council. I want to just share a story about John. It's a good one, John, don't worry. So I started my company 15 years ago. I was 23 years old, not too far out of college. And the concept was fairly new to this area, and not a lot of businesses gave me an opportunity. John was the third company to join my company, TripShock. He allowed us to book himself on a commission. No businesses around here wanted to take commission, which understandably it wasn't a thing. So John gave me a chance, he listened, and to this day, TripShock has brought over $75 million in bookings to local tour operators, fishing charters, rental operators. And John, we just need more people like John in this community to sit down and listen to entrepreneurs, give them a shot, and I appreciate it, John, really do. So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you.
All right, up next. Yes, sir. In the back. Sandy, I got you second, on deck. All right, so just push the button. So push the button and it'll turn red, and then your name and address.
There we go. Ted Love, 3845 Indian Trail, Destin, Florida. Obvious, Destin. I don't have a whole lot to say tonight, but again, I appreciate you guys being here. I know it's a hard job. I'm not trying to make y'all's job any harder, but again, I appreciate the work you do. But I'm just so mad right now. This has to do with the stop sign on Spring Lake Road. I mean, this is just an absolute abomination. You guys make a lot of decisions, and I'm pretty much happy for them, but this one is just turns to be an outright nuisance. And again, I talked to some people earlier. Sorry, I missed discussion when this stop sign was being talked about, but so now it's after the fact. And after the fact, this is one day. So we had 1 day of the four-way stop there at Spring Lake. And it's just hard to think what good is going to come of that. I've been through that intersection many times. All of you guys have. It's pretty common. The school zone and all the other stuff. Been living here 30 years. I never saw the reason for a four-way stop. Still don't see any reason for a four-way stop on that road from the super stop to the school. It's absolutely just ludicrous at this point. I know you must have discussed reasons for it. I'm sure you did. But at this point, I would assume that speed was probably one of the largest reasons. But again, I walk every day, every other day, 3 miles to the Emerald Grand and back every other day, and that's all through Destin. I got into a boat ramp. I walk all the time for my health. I've never had a problem on that stretch of property, crossing the road at the school or anywhere else right there. It's just turned out to be a absolute nuisance. So you got a four-way stop now. So now you made an intersection out of it. Where do you have wrecks? At intersections. I mean, just coming through there today, people stop. Now somebody's looking. Now somebody's waving somebody through. It's just a lot of confusion for no reason. Why don't we just yank those signs up, save the $4,000, and then take a different approach to it if it's speed. Now, if it's for the children, I can understand that also. I did my own survey. It's not official. You can sit right there at that intersection, and there's not going to be a single child cross that road, that Spring Lake Road right there. If anybody does cross Spring Lake, it's on the south side of Kelly Street, on the Duck Pond side, and they'll be escorted by an adult. You just don't see single kids crossing right there. There's no reason for it. You know, kids, they just don't stay there. You know, there's if they walk to school or ride a bicycle, they're probably coming a different way, because you go up towards Legion Drive, and there's a lot of people, you know, a lot of stuff, you know, up that way, and the school buses. So if you're doing it for the children, it's not a good idea because there's none there. And then even on a busy day, you can sit there. Your problem is at the duck pond, where everybody's waiting for their kids to come down. You know, so then that's where your problem is, not up here. So why don't you just take the stop signs out? You know, we have yellow blinking lights already on the school zone.
So wrap up your thoughts, please.
What's that?
Wrap up your thoughts.
Okay, and so I'm just saying, to be in Destin and then have nuisance enforcement, that's what we got. We got nuisance stop sign, that one we especially don't need. Got nuisance speed bumps all over town, and this is just not the way to do the traffic control. So my recommendation is, let's remove them. Let's keep traffic. We got to keep traffic moving. The state spent months synchronizing lights on 98 to keep traffic moving and expedited. So I'm just saying, you know, let's keep Destin moving, and don't just make it a nuisance everywhere you go. So thanks.
Thank you. All right, Sandy?
Sandy Trammell, 3823 Indian Trail. I'm glad we're represented tonight. I'm going to wear 3 hats tonight in my 3 minutes. First hat is thank you, Mayor, for the DAR proclamation for their 10th anniversary of the Daughters of the American Revolution unit here in Destin. That happened this weekend. Second thing is now I'm putting the hat on as the chairman of the Parks and Rec Committee. We did vote for the plans that that are coming toward you tonight for pickleball. And so I just wanted to reiterate that. The third hat I'm wearing tonight is not as Parks and Rec Chair. It says Sandy Trammell, Citizen. And after we did the Parks and Rec meeting, I got to thinking, the council meetings that I attend, we're talking about a new vision. We're talking about a new governmental center eventually. We're talking about rebuilding and new building. When I looked at the pickleball, I said, well, one of the things, if we don't get the public shopping center, this would be a perfect governmental center. You can work here while it's being built, right next to maintenance, or in the parking lot or somewhere, but that way this building could stay until you needed it for parking. So my recommendation is tonight to look at, I call it the sand dune, but it's the sand dune as you go around into Morgan Sports Center, adjacent to the children's park. We need a bathroom at the children's park. There's room there for pickleball courts. I'm not sure how many because we haven't done the survey yet. But you could also, at the end of the children's park toward the ball fields, is a pavilion that no one really ever uses. It's out there in the middle of nowhere. You could move the children's park down and have a lot more room for pickleball courts at that end. Then they would all be part of recreation. The City Hall would be a great place to put a new community center right in the middle of all of that. You have the parking built there, and I'm just asking you to consider that as a possibility tonight when you're looking at the plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone in the middle before I move on? Far right? No one? All right, well, closing public comments. And we will go to the consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion for the consent. Any?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second. Seeing no further discussions, call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. All right. City Manager, Mr. Zanguze.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to you, and also good evening to council members. The first item we have for you this evening has to do with the undergrounding project. As we move forward with this project, one of the key elements that we need to undertake is a replacement of the current light poles in the project area. Our grants coordinator, who's here this evening, has got the details for you regarding the type of poles that we're looking at, and also the associated costs for you to give us direction to move forward. Jeff, would you want to do that for us, please?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Council and Mayor. We have a choice of 2 poles that FPL has provided to us to replace the poles that are currently on the corridor that the undergrounding will take place. Current poles are not able to be reused, so we'll have to select new poles to go in their place. The one pole, option 1, is a gray-colored pole, a concrete pole with a black mast. It costs $4,700 a month for the 150 lights in that corridor. The option 2 is a black pole with a top-mounted black mast, and that costs $6,000 a month for that corridor as well. Additional information is we do have to pay back FPL for the life expectancy of the lights that are there now, the useful life left in those. When those lights are taken down, that amount will have to be paid back, and we won't know for sure how much that is until we have a date that those will come down. But right now, it's estimated to be about $60,000. The other piece to add to that is FDOT does provide us a credit that equals $3,450 a month to go towards that those cost lighting. So, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Michael's here, he can answer questions. Stephanie Lindsay from UCOF is here, and she'd be excited to answer any questions you have to.
All right, first out of the gun, Councilmember Stevens.
Yes, I got a quick question on the black poles. When we go to like other cities, I see these black poles where the black peels. So I guess the question is, the concrete, is the black going to be mixed in with the concrete, or is it going to be painted?
The dye is mixed in with the concrete as it's cast.
Okay. And then this one question doesn't really make a difference on whether or not it's black or gray, but are we going to be able to put like holiday banners and stuff like that on these for whenever that comes?
My understanding is we can work with FPL on that. I believe we will be able to do some of that. It might be a little bit limited, but I do think there's a possibility of allowing some banners and such.
All right, up next, Councilman Schmidt.
I move that we select option 2, the black pole with top-mounted mast, and have the staff inform FPL of our selection.
All right, got a motion, second by Councilman King.
Couple of questions.
Go ahead.
When did we replace the current ones that we are going to have to still pay for once they're taken down?
City signed a lighting agreement in April of 2022 for the replacement of 111 high-pressure sodium lights. That's those peach-colored lights with the LEDs. In addition, there was another lighting agreement for 22 additional lights as part of another FDOT project. So I think it's 133 total.
Was that a requirement from DOT or something to replace those, since we were working on the undergrounding project and we were already talking about lights at that time?
Yeah, I think it is completely unrelated to the undergrounding. It was probably part of the 3R project when DOT came in and redid the stretch between Airport Road and the East Pass Bridge back in 21 or so. I think that's when that happened.
Okay. And has there been any preliminary conversations with them about working out a deal of not paying that, or giving us are they going to take, do we get to keep them? Because if we're paying for them, are they ours?
And I think,
what are we paying
I
for,
think this
I
is
guess,
99% correct what I'm about to say. We don't really own those. Those aren't ours, they're leased. So just like any other lease, we're kind of ending that relationship early with the undergrounding efforts because these fixtures cannot be recycled into the undergrounding project.
So whenever we are shown and given information that the price is for the service and the supplies, you're saying it's more of we're just leasing it for approximately $60,000 until it's paid off. And then, but what happens after we pay $60,000? Do we have to, they're still going to service them, right?
So each fixture, just like anything else, has a useful life. And I believe the fixtures have about a 20-year useful life, so we would pay that amount over the course of 20 years, and then FPL would come swap them out. We would open a new lighting agreement with them.
And so what's the net cost of the new poles? Is it
Well, it'd be the-
$93,000 that the FDOT told us?
It's 4,700 a month for the one, but we get a 3450 credit back. That doesn't take into consideration the 60,000 we have to pay.
So it's $4,700 a month per pole, or for
No,
just a
no.
month? So it's about $60,000 a year for 20 years? So $1.2 million for poles and leasing them? Because the FDOT letter says it's $92,375 for something.
That's the credit we receive back from FDOT.
Well, that's the credit.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
the bill actually comes from FPL.
In addition, we do receive a annual allowance from FDOT for the cost of power and maintenance. This year's agreement was around $97,000. And it goes up by 3% each year.
Okay, where can I see how long we're gonna be paying $2,550 per month? Until the life expectancy, is that? $30,000 a year. Will the agreement come back to the council before it's signed or sealed or delivered?
Yes, it would.
Cool. Okay, then I'll hold my questions, and then maybe we can just get through it then. And hopefully also in that agreement, we can work on things like Mr. Stevens talked about as well. Take that into consideration. I definitely like the black ones though better, and especially if the black is mixed in, but I do have I just want to know more about this unending financial burden of poles that we don't own. Now we're having to take them down, we don't own them, so that's all I need. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wondering if we had the ability to have the choices on our screen up there so the folks who have taken the time to be here tonight will actually see what we're talking about.
That would be, I guess, an IT question.
Should be able to do that.
Get them up there in 40 seconds.
All right, well, that's going. Councilman Bagley, you want to go if that's just
Well, no,
anything
because
else?
my questions are for Michael. I already asked the staff, but I think the staff hopefully pre-briefed Michael. And he'll be able to answer the questions, so I'll let him do the
Yep.
picture.
I'm proud of you putting that up there. Look at that, getting the technology going.
There it is.
Between the black and the gray? Black's more expensive?
And council, you'll notice, other than the color of the pole itself being different, the way that the arm affixes to the top is also a little different. The black one affixes at the top, and the gray one, Andy, can you pull that one up? It kind of
Yep.
affixes to the side.
And there's a difference in the price of these? How
Yes,
much?
sir.
Which one is cheaper?
The gray colored pole is
The gray
cheaper.
colored one.
The county-looking one.
And how much cheaper?
The gray colored is 4,700 a month. The all black is 6,000,
Oh, so it's
So-
1,500 more a month?
1,300.
Yeah, close to it. And which comes out to 15, a little over 16,000 or so a year, right? Something
That'd be
like that. Can we paint the gray ones black?
Now this flakes.
Counselor Destin, someone asked me, they told me that someone was going to ask that tonight, so.
Gotcha, okay. Thanks.
All right, Councilman Guile? I'm sorry, I gotta put your button in. No, go for it, go for it.
Push my button. Okay, so hopefully, Michael, they gave you the pre-brief. How many of the 111 were replaced 2 years ago?
The 111 you see in the lighting agreement were replaced. There were 86 or 84, a combination of high-pressure sodium lights, one or
Right.
two LEDs. So evidently, they added some as part of that new lighting.
Well, no, they
lighting
had
plan.
about 108, in the, Rita had, they had the others. They weren't all the same wattage, but you're right. Some of them were, but, so basically, we're paying for 18 years' worth of non-use. And do we lease the pole or do we lease the light?
So when we've added new streetlights, we have to lease the pole. I'm not sure about the existing poles, the old wooden poles, because there are other things on those poles other than lights. There's transformers and you know communications and things like that. But we don't own those poles. The only poles that I know that we do own are the ones right out here on Commons Drive.
Right, with the shepherd's hook lights.
Exactly. Those are
Yes.
ours, and we maintain those.
So the question that I think I asked Lewis and everybody else that was on the call was to go back to FPL and find out if they replaced all the poles, because I don't believe they replaced all the poles. They replaced the light bulbs. They may have had to replace the fixtures so that the bulbs, the non-sodium bulbs could fit in there. But if we're leasing the poles, okay, as opposed to the fixtures, the poles didn't all get replaced. So we've hit our 20 years plus on the poles. So this is kind of to Mr. Schmidt's question, but a little finer, granular, is what is the 60,000? I want somebody to show me the numbers on what we're leasing and what the life expectancy. If you say 20 years, I'm fine with 20 years, but if it's the poles, then we've paid for all those poles, and I'm not paying $60,000 for poles that have been there for 20 years. If it is for the fixtures, okay, that they replaced 2 years ago, then they should be able to reuse those fixtures, some sort of discount over to the 60,000. So I just want somebody to show me the math, and, I will see Bernard in the morning at our Tuesday meeting at 8 o'clock, and I will ask him to start cranking the numbers, because 60,000 is just too much. Just as a sign of goodwill that we're going forward with these guys on the undergrounding, that we're paying them or paying a contractor to help them underground these utilities, I think they ought to give us some sort of credit to that. And that's what I would ask y'all to go back and ask them for.
Good deal. Councilman Guile?
My question is just a question of semantics. I think I might have misheard something. Ray, could I please hear the motion that Kevin made?
It'll be option 2, black pole with top mountain mast, and have the staff inform FPL of our selection.
Okay, on my presentation, the black poles are option 1, and the gray poles are option 2. So just to stay consistent, can we change that to option 1? Black
Mine says
poles?
option 2 is a black concrete pole.
I'm just looking at when you press the option 1, the picture of the black shows up. Like what he has highlighted right there, see how it says option one?
He can edit my motion, just make sure it includes black.
Yeah,
pole
can we
if you
just
want.
remove option and just put black on black, if that's what it is? Just so there's no confusion?
Only government.
I'm just making sure there's no issues later.
I love it. All right. Councilman Schmidt?
Sorry, yes. Have we looked at what it costs to do our own polls? Well, like, why can the city not go put our own polls in there?
It's state right-of-way, probably. That'd probably be the best reason. We don't control that land.
So we're forced to lease polls from FPL rather than like put our own in?
On city right-of-way projects, when we do add, it's always an option to purchase,
Sure.
but you can lease it as well. So you have that option, but I'm not sure about on a state route.
I mean, I don't think it would behoove us not to inquire about what the options are while we're doing this project, to see the cost of putting in our own polls while we're researching the cost of leasing these for the next 20 years. So,
We still look at that.
okay, appreciate it.
All right. Councilman Bagby, final thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I'm a favor of the black on black just from an aesthetic. It doesn't draw your eye to the gray pole or white pole. If you go talk to all the architects down 30A, they'll tell you dark window frames because that is what you want. I do not want to get in the pole business. I just want to go on record. Number one. Number two, my guess is that FDOT will not reimburse us for our poles, and then the liability of us putting in the poles when a windstorm comes is probably greater than I also want to think. So I get the whole state right of way, leasing the poles. There's a reason everybody does that. You know, y'all can look at us being responsible for poles, but the cost and the downside, from my perspective, is greater than we need to undertake.
All right. Councilman Destin, final thoughts?
This is a 20-year commitment. Is that what the lease period is?
The service life is what I was referring to earlier. So this expected service life for a fixture like this is probably around 20 years.
Okay, we're going to sign a lease document though, right?
We would sign probably a lighting agreement very similar to the one in your packet for 111 fixtures.
And does it have?
We do those, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we do those periodically when we've been doing our LED conversions, and they take these high-pressure sodiums down and they put LEDs up. Every time we get ready to put them on a mission to do a subdivision or something like that, we have to sign a new lighting agreement.
Okay, so we think 20 years at 15,000 more a year, or whatever it comes out to, that's better than $300,000. Black is awful pretty, but I'm not sure it's that pretty.
Well,
So-
the other thing, Councilor Destin, is the fixture has an expected service life and the pole has an expected service life, so those will differ.
Yeah, and we are simply voting to make a choice between black and gray, right? And then there will be a document that comes back to us that we have to vote on again.
Correct.
That is correct.
Another bite at the apple, yes.
It's about 150, we're replacing the 111 with about 150, right?
Correct.
That's the way I read the documents. I just want to make sure because that's one of the reasons the cost is increasing from 2,000 to whatever the net cost is increasing, I should say.
One last comment, Councilor Bagby. I'm sorry, I do this quite a bit, but when we submit our invoice to FDOT every April, May time period, we update the inventory of lights. So once those 150 are implemented and are installed, we get about $300 per light per year from FDOT for that inconvenience of managing their lighting system for them. So that'll be an additional 30-something lights, 39 lights.
All right. With everyone being an expert in lights, I'm going to call the vote. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved. Mr. Zanguzzi.
Yes, thank you. The next item has to do with the Clementilla Park renovations. Staff is seeking your review and approval of the draft RFP and project designs for this project to be shared with the county pursuant to the grant agreement that we have with them. Once again, I'll turn that over to Jeff, our grants coordinator.
Thank you. Just as a update, the Board of County Commissioners will have the subaward agreement on the agenda tomorrow morning. Once they execute that and get us a copy back, then the next step in the process is the procurement. And that's what the RFP document covers. The RFP document has three features to it that I'll mention that are different than what we did with Royal Melvin. The first is we added language in there to cover the contractor selection as far as the council goes. So there's more options available to council as to how that process works. And we recently updated the purchasing manual to reflect that. That language is also in this document. Secondly, we updated the plans to reflect updates that were required because of code and some county required updates. And those were done last year. So those are also been provided to the county already, and those are what's represented here. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right.
One more thing, excuse me. The contract, the construction contract, yes. That has also been updated, and we're adding some language to that, but we updated that significantly from the one we used with the Royal Melvin Park. So we feel far more confident in our ability to manage a project with that contract. So that's also been updated and added.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good news. Any discussions? Councilman Bagley?
That's the conclusion. Let me pull down the recommended motion. I move the city forward RFP 24-02-REC to the county for review and approval.
A motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second?
Do we have a second? Yep, okay. Up first, Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you. A few questions and comments. I think, Ryan, when you first got here, this is one of your new things, this project, right? You found out we were behind on some code issues and things like that, so we had to redo the plans, the drawings and schematics. Is that somewhat of a?
Correct, yeah. The restrooms in the previous approved version were off to the side. Wanted to put those in the central location of the park, raise it, it had to be raised for flooding. ADA ramps be added. The pavilion that was shown in the previous set of plans cut down some nice existing trees, so we were just rotating and moving that pavilion to avoid that kind of stuff. And then parking lot got tweaked a little bit, but overall the parking lot's the same.
Was there anything changed from the original designs besides what you just mentioned?
We didn't add or delete anything from the original plans, we just shuffled the pieces around.
Okay. And where is the gazebo? Is the gazebo no longer on here?
The gazebo is going to go at the end of the sidewalk closest to the bay. We have one picked out, so I don't think there's a note on the plans, but that's where it's going to go.
Is it supposed to be on the plan, the gazebo?
We can add a note.
Huh?
We can add a note.
Will that impact our grant funding or treasuries issues or anything when we add a gazebo it's not on the plan?
That gazebo was questionable because a hurricane took it out, and then as part of the grant requirements, it has to go back in. So that's not going to affect the grant.
And that's correct.
Okay. So I brought up some concerns and questions in my pre-briefing meeting, primarily because we are renovating this park and replacing just about everything. But the original pavilion and walkway is not being replaced. And it's actually being kept there. So if you're familiar with this park, if you've been out there in a while, that's right next to the current playground. And I'm a little concerned about spending over $1 million on a park renovation and walking out there and seeing a 50-year-old pavilion and walkway that's going to be there. And so speaking with, I guess, staff, I understand, I believe the recommendation is that we should just continue to proceed as planned and to get this thing going. But I do feel strongly that we have them look at what it's going to take to possibly either include removing that when we do this construction, or at least bring us some options, because that might affect the grant apparently. It might not affect the grant, but I would think, and maybe Sandy could speak differently, or maybe they talked about this, but I don't think the citizens would want to come to ribbon cutting for $1 million park project and look over and see the dilapidated pavilion and walkway there. And so I'm hoping we can do something in regards to that. So I've asked Mr. Zinguzzi or Jeff and everybody to look into this and come back to us with more information. I don't know if we need to direct them to do that, but hopefully. Jeff, did you have your hand raised?
I do. Cool. I wanted to let you know that I did pose that question to the county. They will have to check with Treasury, but I asked specifically, what impacts it would have on the grant if it was decided that it needed to be removed or replaced. So either of those options and how those would impact the grant.
Right, so they'll give you that feedback and get back to us. Right.
Yes, sir.
I mean, this is a project that I think I've been talking about for nearly 4 years. So it's, it's obviously, I don't want to delay it either. But when you look at the original 2017 minutes, the plan was to replace, it says to replace the pathway and pavilion. So somehow along the lines, that pathway and pavilion was chose not to be replaced anymore. Unfortunately, we're here, I get it, but hopefully Treasury can give us a good update, or if not, then what are the options, right? I would, if no, then what can we do from the city? I know Public Works loves tractors and they love tearing garbage down, and maybe that's an option. I love driving tractors too, so, but maybe after the grant is over. Yes, sir.
I will point out, there is a note on the existing pavilion that says that the contractor is to coordinate with the Parks and Rec director for renovations to the pavilion. So we could save the foundation.
Cool.
Probably raise it and put the same pavilion in that's already proposed on the
There
south
we go.
and
So
kind of solve that.
Just keep it on top of our minds is all I'm asking. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I just want to memorialize the conversation we had in the pre-brief. When it comes back, the contract will include liquidated damages, a fine for any removal or damage to the trees, and the schedule by number of days. So that, because while there are provisions to terminate the contract, there aren't really liquidated damages if they take forever and a day. And so when you're negotiating that, or when you bring that contract back, I'd like to see at least $250 per day after the substantial completion to be the liquidated damages, a minimum of $250. You want to make it $500, I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. That's what I've used in the past, but no less than $250. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Stevens.
Thank you. I noticed that the Destin Ford class, they're doing a project where they're upgrading a couple things here. Is this going to impact any of this?
I don't believe so.
Tamara?
No, it shouldn't. So we were looking at upgrading the volleyball court, which is in pretty bad shape, and there's educational signage that is absolutely unreadable and eligible at this point in time. So we were going to do 3 of those, and then we are looking at working on a seagrass wall to help with some of the erosion factors. So we have a three-pronged approach to it. So I think it should be all positive and not impact this at all.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilman Destin?
Thank you, Mayor. Just questions about the bathrooms. We're changing the locations, right?
Correct.
And we're going to elevate them?
Correct.
How much?
It's out of the FEMA. I don't, Scott says a lot. It's a foot above the FEMA requirement.
Yeah, the question I have in mind, that's still considered permanent, not temporary bathroom. Since it's up, it's still going to have an attachment to the ground that, okay. Only questions I had, the trees, we're going to impact how many trees, any trees?
I believe we relayed this out, so we're not impacting really any trees, correct?
Very good.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. We haven't, going to have to put in new sewer lines though, because there are new, there's no
correct.
utilities where the new bathroom's going, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, seeing no further discussion. All right, call the vote. All right, let's have it unanimously so moved. Mr. Zinguzzi.
Yes, next item has to do with the pickleball courts project. The plans for this project have reached the 30% plan phase of the design, and we recently received some recommendations from the Parks and Rec Committee. Staff is seeking approval tonight to see if we can move to the 60% design phase of the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. All right, so back in August 21st of 2023, we came in front of council and was directed to try to come back with 4 courts, 1 covered, within a budget of $400,000. So we got Jenkins Engineering on board. He's sitting back here and he can answer any questions if you have them for him. After we take his cut of the contract out, that left us with $348,600 to build the park, or the pickleball court, sorry. So we ended up coming up with 30% plans. We took the 30% plans to the Parks and Rec Committee on January 23rd of this year, and we presented 3 options. The first option was kind of stay within budget. So that option included bathrooms, which we found out after the fact that per the Florida Building Code, they are required, and 2 courts with 1 of them being covered. That kind of keeps us within budget with that option. Option 2 was kind of Taj Mahal Phase 1, which would be the bathrooms, 4 courts, 4 covers. That came in at $613,663. And then option 3 was kind of meeting the council's objective of the 4 courts, 1 covered in bathrooms. And with option 3, we would need a budget increase of approximately $86,000 to make that happen. So Parks and Rec voted for option 1 to stay within budget. But we are looking to get some direction from council as to how to move forward. One of the discussions that we had during the Parks and Rec presentation was with the SRS coming into town to do the citywide study, to shelve this project until that's done. Staff is not recommending that. We have a lot of reasons, but the 2 main reasons is the Destin Water Users owns the Morgan Sports Center, so we lease that from them. So in general, this will always kind of be a sports area. So we don't see that study saying that this needs to be something different. But if it did, we're looking at probably getting shovels in the ground in 5 years to be optimistic. So this is a small cost to provide some service over the next 5 years for pickleball. I believe that's all I have. If you have any questions.
All right. And Jeff, we have a FERDAP grant as well for this?
That is correct. We put one of those in, I think it was last August.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard of the status of that funding yet. If it is funded, it'll be in the state's next fiscal year, which doesn't start until July.
Okay.
So that funding wouldn't be available till after that. Okay. But I did ask for $50,000 to go towards court construction.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
I did want to point out one more thing. Andy, can you scroll that to where it shows like the master build out? I believe it's up 1. Yeah, so that's our concept right now to how to build out this site. And this is right on the other side of this parking lot out here. So phase 1 we're looking at right now, the recommendation is the 2 courts. But to get the permit and get the plans done, we're talking about phasing like each court individually. So by the time we get ready to get a shovel on the ground, we can then pull it and say, hey, we got enough money now to do phase 1, 2, 3, 4. And we don't have to go through the permitting process again. We have it permitted already, it's just by phase. So that's one approach that we're looking to take to kind of streamline the process.
So starting off, I have Councilman Guile.
Thank you, sir. I do have a couple questions. Sandy Tremmel's idea, we've already spent approximately $52,000 on survey, so we would lose that $52,000 to look at Ms. Tremmel's idea, or would some of that be recoverable?
Well, Jenkins Engineering's already spent probably about half that budget already to get to where we're at right now. So that's gone.
All right. Next, I'm looking at your guys' options. The covered, how much does it cost for a covering?
One covering is approximately $60,000.
$60,000. So almost, from what I'm looking at then, if we just did 4 courts uncovered, we're pretty close to budget there also, if we didn't deal with the covering.
Correct. For my calcs, it looks like we would need about another, what was it, $25,000? Something like that to do 4 courts not covered with the bathrooms. Yeah, $25,000.
And then the covering could always be a part of a future
That
development.
stuff, I believe, Scott, that can be added later, right? Yes.
Yeah. If we look at the grant, that FERDAP's 50, we might be able to work that into a later.
And then something that we discussed in the past is potentially TDC funding for some of this, but I mean, that's obviously something we're not going to talk about now because of the situation we're in. But hopefully in the future, we can have at least some discussion whether TDC is willing to.
Well, I was going to bring that up, so I'll get through everyone, and I wanted to at least get some kind of feel for where we're at of.
Did you just interrupt me? No. I'm just
Here you go. Mel definitely wants to be a champion of this. If we want to go build out the pickleball and get TDC involved, we definitely have a champion at the county is willing to do it. But I think it's more of what do we want before we bring them a project that we may or may not want after they want to throw us money. So I think it's get through this phase 1, but I think if we could have a conversation tonight on, do we see this as a court system? Do we see this as a multi-use? I think that would at least help guide our staff in conversations when we do talk to them about TDC. But that was something I was going to bring up as far as what do we see for the court system as a full build out. If you want to, are you for or against TDC coming in? Obviously, you like the numbers and all that. So do you have a preference?
I'm all about somebody flipping the bill, absolutely.
All right, I'll take that. All right, Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move to direct the city manager to work with the staff and Jenkins Engineering to move forward to 60% plans with option 4, which is 4 courts in the bathroom, none of them covered at this time. And my comments are, I was one of the people that strongly supported a covered court for older people, inclement weather and stuff, but I am not in favor of kicking this can. We've kicked it. Let's build it some dang courts. And then if we want to cover some in the future phases or whatever we want to do, or if we get a FERDAP grant, or if we get some TDC funding, whatever, we can add covers or we can build additional courts with covers. But I want to see this thing get built and finished now, not another year from now, and not waiting on the state's next fiscal year, and not waiting on the next election or any other thing. Put some dadgum shovels in the dirt and get it done.
I totally agree with you. I don't know if it has to be in the motion.
I had one additional point. I want y'all to bring back at the next meeting your recommendation, at least 2 recommendations on where that additional $25,000 and $25,160, I believe is the number we discussed, where it's going to come from in the current year budget. And it's not council contingency because that's dead.
That was my question.
Mayor, can I call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Bagby, did you say option 3?
4.
4?
Created an option 4, which is 4 courts and bathrooms, none of them covered, well, the bathroom's covered, but none of the courts are covered, okay? And that the staff would bring back to the next meeting a couple of options on where in this year's budget to get the $25,000, $25,160, whatever it is.
All right. All right, up next, Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you. Ryan, the bathroom. When we budgeted this, did we know that the bathroom was a requirement by state?
We did not at the time, no.
Right. So what did you find out in regards to that? Because I think we talked about using the annex, depending on the hours of operation. Why can we not use this bathroom right here?
Because it's going to be used mainly on the weekends, and this building's not open on the weekends.
That's a good answer.
I hope he makes a gif out of that one.
And, I mean, obviously, securing certain door, like, we wouldn't want it open, I guess. Right.
I kicked around options of changing this in here and trying to keep it, but it's just not going to be feasible.
Right. Okay. I also spoke to some ambassadors of the pickleball generation and all that as well recently. And it was get as many courts as you can as soon as possible. We don't need covers. We don't need this. We need courts. And so I was definitely in favor of Mr. Bagby. We have, and I think you said that you're going to fine tune the numbers anyways, and it might just work out whenever y'all put some final numbers down. But the current the budget is in this fiscal year, right? We have it on the budget, Mr. Bagby. So.
Well, 400,000.
400,000. Right. So, and you said that we might not even be doing this within the next. I mean, it might take with it 5 years. Like, I mean, could we start within
No,
the
I
next
was
6
saying-
months if we wanted to?
I was saying from the SRS study, whatever is decided, we're probably not doing anything from that study for another 5 years. So
But
these-
realistically, for this, when can shovels be in the ground?
You made him smile.
To get to the 100%, you're talking about to get to the after tonight? Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, maybe there is more time to get it to the next budget if you can't find the $25,000, but I don't want to delay it either. I just didn't know realistically if that was gonna happen, so. Cool. I know a lot of people will be excited, and I think that having that master plan and phasing it out is a great already to plan for that. That's, it shows the pickleball people, it shows the city, it shows residents, and I've been doing a lot of research on the TDC funding and the pennies, so I can talk to Mr. Bagby in a lot more educated way about that, and I look forward to that. And there is 100% options to get TDC funding, and I 100% will support Commissioner Ponder to champion that, but we have our money.
we have
to
our
do
money.
certain things, and this is definitely one of the things that we can do and put into TDC requests. More to come on that later. So, but,
absolutely.
but yeah, I would love any and all support from TDC, county, and everybody else because, like Mr. Giles said, if somebody else wants to foot the bill, heck yeah. So let's do it. Put shovels in the ground.
All right, shovels in the ground in a month.
I could be wrong on this, but I don't think anybody seconded your motion.
Yeah, I appreciate that though. Okay, call on the vote. All gonna make me professionals real quick up here. All right, ayes have it, so moved.
Thank you.
All right, announcements. Mrs. Nguze.
Yes, we have a number of announcements for you this evening, and our Public Information Director will share those with you.
Absolutely. Good evening, Council. Sandy Trammell said it best. The mayor initiated a proclamation for the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution in honor of the West Florida chapter's 10th anniversary luncheon, and we do commend that organization for their role in fostering a deep appreciation of our heritage, and we did extend that proclamation over this weekend. Gator Boring is expected to begin work on the Four Prong Lake starting tomorrow, with the installation of the piping expected to take 2 days. Code compliance will be, and please stop me if I'm reading through something fast that you want to discuss. Code compliance will be hosting a beach vendor meeting on Monday, February 12th at 1 p.m. The city's annual Spring Craft Show will be held at the Community Center on February 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and February 17th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're hoping for over 50 to 60 vendors, and if anybody wants a slot or wants more information, they can contact the Community Center. Our next City Council meeting will be on Tuesday, February 20th. The city offices will be closed the day prior for President's Day. And also on the 20th, before the City Council meeting starting at 5:30, will be the Mayor's State of the City Address, and the public is invited to attend.
I expect everyone here.
Absolutely. Yes, the mayor and I are meeting about this week. It should be good stuff. At the last City Council meeting, Mayor Wagner proclaimed February a month to bring awareness to congenital heart defects. And as a city and a show of support, we agreed to collect pop tabs, those little aluminum thingies that are on your lattes or soup cans or whatever. And we're collecting those for the Ronald McDonald House Charities. And we're collecting those through February 29th. And we would genuinely love your support in helping collect those. So we've talked to some of the schools and other outreach, but we're collecting those at City Hall, the Annex, even Public Works. They've actually, I think, collected the most so far. No, I say even, as in I think they've outdone us all on the community center. And so again, we would love the community's help in collecting those and dropping those off as you can. On March 1st, as one of the pieces celebrating Destin's 40th birthday of being incorporated, we'll participate with the Sheriff's Office and the Destin History and Fishing Museum with hosting the Destin Fishing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're looking forward to celebrating some of Destin's finest captains, past and present, and that inaugural event will be held at the Community Center at 10 a.m., again on March 1st. 16 captains will be honored at this one, and each additional year will have additional captains honored for that award. And last, this is kind of exciting. This is progress for up here for you guys. We are moving to a latest version of the open meeting voting system in the chambers. The new system is cloud-based, so council members will vote from a computer or tablet as opposed to your old-fashioned buttons. Andy Peters, our IT director, is requesting council feedback as to what you feel is the most useful setup for your particular council seats. So I'll turn it over to Andy.
Yeah, thanks. Good evening. I won't take much of your time, but I would like just your feedback on your areas because, we're going to have to take those little buttons away.
Oh, darn.
Give you something better. But I would like to give you something that you want, not something that I think you want. So the options are basically stick with a tablet that you can vote on. I can try to show you a quick picture of that. Or we can have multiple tablets, one to vote on and one to look at your agendas on. Or we can do something radical and go to, say, a computer at each of your stations where you can pull up your agendas comfortably on a nice big screen. We could do a computer at each of your spots and have a tablet into your lap for voting. So there's lots of options, and I wasn't sure what's working for you in your seats, what is not working for you, that sort of thing, if anyone has any thoughts.
Councilman Guile.
I have a question because we just had this discussion before this session started about these little tablets we have now. You mentioned a computer. Is there any chance we can do a laptop so that we have, instead of the tablets, that way we can function outside of here and not just have a permanent station?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I would prefer that because they're easier to sync and keep updated and secure on my end, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought, was, I answer emails.
Stop stealing my glory.
You got good ideas, so I want to one-up you. All right, Councilman Schmidt.
I don't want two things. No.
That's the kind of feedback I need.
I don't want two things either.
That brick of a phone is sitting somewhere. I like the iPad when it works, and lately I know we've been having some connection issues. But if it has to be all the same, I'm fine with a laptop that you can vote on as well. But because I know there's others that don't want the iPad, they would rather have a laptop. So I could do either or.
Okay.
But definitely just want one.
One-stop shop. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Destin.
Yep, I would support the one-stop and the laptop. This iPad glitches every time I try to swipe through it. I got to swipe through 100 documents to get to the one I'm looking for. I was about to throw it out the window the other day. So I would support the one laptop that we have sitting here that hopefully will work better.
All right, Councilman Bagby.
So is using our own laptop an option, or has this got to be one that's issued by the city?
No, you can use your own laptop. I'm sure we could figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, because I don't need another laptop. I've got two. I don't even like my phone. I don't use it. Nobody calls me on it. They all call me on my personal cell.
Yeah.
And I gave you my iPad back. So
I noticed that.
Yeah, as long as fewer is better
I'll
in
take
my
that second iPad.
world.
When you did that, I felt it might be time to start asking you about what you guys wanted up there. So, and is there any more feedback?
Yeah, Johnny.
Just real quick, do they use these at any of our committee, do any of our committees use these?
They do not, and yeah, and we actually can't even buy them anymore, so I couldn't make them useful to them either.
I was just making sure we weren't taking something away that, you can't buy every committee member a laptop, you know.
That's a good
Just making
point.
sure,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
I would also just, yeah.
Real quick, so Ms. Trammell said they would like to be able to use technology. Yeah, some sort of technology. I don't want to go too crazy here, but is there something we could have here so that the committees could use? Something
Yeah,
like that?
some committees meet in the other room, so we'll have to think through that room separately. But it may be that this system could be used by them also, especially if the laptops are in place and staying here. If council people are taking them home, then I might have to think through how that would work.
I'm not interested in taking a laptop home.
I guess some of us are just more dedicated.
I got a laptop that works just fine, Mr. Gal.
Okay, that's good
Feels
feedback.
good. Most of the
Yeah,
time
I
it
think I
works
can
good
give you
most of the
something that
time.
you'll like. I would also just say that this replacement of this open meeting system was impossible last September when we looked into it just due to costs. And I think the mayor, I think you reached out to the vendor and talked to them, and they came back to us with a huge incentive that knocked the price down 50%, which was just really appreciated. So
Oh, yeah. I love
yeah,
sales.
we'll bring that to you. Thank you.
No, of course. All right, moving on.
We got one more
Announcement?
announcement, yes.
Oh, perfect.
Andy? Tyler-
Sorry, I forgot
Tyler
about
Technologies.
that. We said last time Tyler Technologies is coming out to visit us about EnerGov, boots on the ground. We're going to have several of them out here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week for that deep look. So we're going to ask them all of our deep questions and find out what our next steps are.
All right, thank you. All right. Public hearings, all right. Ms. Kopp.
Well, once again, this item has been continued at the request of the applicant. So we will hear the Panhandle Engineering, Inc., Ramanada LLC application on February 20th at 6 p.m.
I hope everything's going well. All right, at this time, public comments. Nope, I'm sorry. Oh, nope. Comments, presentations from us. Yes, council member. All right, council member Stevens.
I got nothing tonight. Thank you.
All right, council member Guile.
I do have something, sir. Dredging update. I've been getting enough calls about it, sir. Where are we at with the dredging update for the quotes?
I have received 3 rough estimates. They vary widely, the lowest at 500,000, the highest at 1.3 million. So we need to come back and talk about financing of this and options. So we are going to look into that and come back to council with some ideas.
Okay, and I've been thinking about this based off some of the maps that you've showed me as well. Something I'd like to try to put on the March 4th agenda is us looking at sending it to the Harbor Board Waterways for a couple options. Either the harbor themselves develop a POA where they develop funding to maintain that harbor, because based off the maps you showed me, most of that fill is coming from where the boats are turning and causing issues, or we start looking at city assessment. So I would like to put that on the March 4th agenda for us to look at a couple options and have the city bring back a couple options for that continued maintenance.
Is that a motion?
Okay,
Doesn't need a motion to put it on the
I
agenda.
was asking if it is a motion.
I don't have to be, but if you would like it to be, I can say it.
If you want the support of council.
I would like to make a motion to put on the March 4th agenda that the city bring back a couple options for us to review and send to the Harbor Waterways Board for either a POA, volunteer payment system from harbor businesses, or possibly city assessment to maintain the harbor moving forward.
All right, I have a motion. A second, Councilman King. Any discussions? Councilmember Stevens?
It's not associated with this motion, so can I still ask it? Or shall I
can I
wait? Yeah, I'll wait.
Councilman Bagby?
I'm just trying to, so, because what I think I heard you say, I don't think the staff can do in a month. But, so I just want to clarify on what you want them to come back with the cost and everything that's involved with either sending it to where we do an assessment, I assume of the people who have property adjoining the harbor, or whether the harbor, or for a recommendation from the harbor board. Is that the two things you want the staff to bring back?
I'm not asking them for an assessment cost-wise. I'm just asking them to review the proper way and the proper channels to get it to the Harbor Waterways Committee boards and any appropriate committees that we may need so that we have recommendations moving forward by March 4th. I'm not expecting any financial budgeting, any assessments, any projections or anything of that nature, just proper procedures, proper organized system of planning to present it so that we can start bringing information back to this council.
Okay, so it's a procedural question you want answered. It's not, it doesn't have to go to the harbor board before March 5th or whatever the date is, and they don't have to give a recommendation, and the staff's not actually giving you a recommendation. They're just bringing back what the procedure is if we were to do an assessment, or the harbor, or we were to turn over or create another group to fund that. Is that, I'm just trying to figure out what's coming back on March 5th, and is it physically possible for
Okay,
the staff to?
let me jump in and give you what I think we're doing. And if I'm wrong, this is why I'm glad we do motions, because it makes it very clear. But my understanding is you want the options described to the harbor board first and then to council, and the two options we're supposed to look at and bring back information on generally without specific cost information are, one, a possible POA, which would be something voluntary among harbor property owners, or two, a city-imposed assessment, not saying we're doing that, but just what that option would look like generally. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Thank you. You are
Okay.
very articulate. Thank you for articulating that better than I could.
All right, Councilmember
Okay,
Destin.
well,
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So when's the harbor board's next meeting?
The end of February,
Yeah, it's at the end of February.
Okay, and so,
last Monday of the month, I believe.
okay, and so you
Yeah,
can
good.
gin up the procedures to take to them for
Well-
their review.
Could I offer a friendly amendment?
No, you don't get the, but you can, if you have an idea or a comment.
Yeah, so why don't we bring what she said to you first and see whether you want to direct your committee to undertake further action on it?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
All right, good deal. Ray, do you got it? All right. Okay, Councilman Destin.
I was just trying to clarify what we're voting on. I think I'm a little clearer. City attorney's going to bring back to us options for funding the dredging, I suppose, in a more permanent manner.
That's what I understood.
Oh, I'm getting both ways.
No, no.
Yeah, so this dredging operation right now, one, it's substantially higher than our initial estimations. But this may be emergency dredging, and that might be something we have to vote on separately. But this is going to be a continued cost and a continued burden on the city, and I'm looking for means of us maintaining that more frequently, so we don't end up in the situation where we're at right now. But that's still part of that option, may be us looking at the emergency dredging. But these are the options I'm kind of wanting to hear from the city when they bring back to us March 4th.
So I think it's a little bit of both then. It's looking at it for possible emergency dredging, but also ongoing maintenance thereafter.
And you'll bring back the options, but I think this could get very complicated. Do we assess only commercial property? Do we assess all properties, including all the marinas on the other side? And, you know, the dredging we do here, except for times when hurricanes fill the places up, there's not a lot of maintenance going on. What we're doing now is making it deeper so that the bigger tour boats can operate, but they could never operate in the past. We're going to make it deep enough so they can. I'm just making the point that there's not a lot of maintenance unless a hurricane has filled it in. And generally, we get funds from the state and federal, FEMA, to do that.
So when the city engineer got his maps, which you guys will see in March, it was not just the area we initially discussed, and I think that's why Councilmember Guile has this other idea about maintenance, because it isn't just that area back where we initially talked about, but also all the way around the bend by the East Pass. So, and maybe city engineer wants to weigh in.
Yeah, and this is just to maintain the current permit that we have. So we already have permitted depths. Coming right off of East Pass, we're allowed to be 14 feet below sea level. And that needs about 7 foot taken out. It's filled in 7 feet. So I think the deepest two ships out there, draft, I think is the right term, 8 feet below. So we got those two ships kind of rubbing bottom in the two spots. Up farther into the harbor where it's narrower, we're only permitted to go 8 feet deep. So already, to get it back to 8 feet, they're already, when their boat's full, kind of dragging almost instantly. So as part of the CAP 107 that we're also starting, we're going to talk to the Corps about possibly realigning that channel and making that part deeper too, so we don't have the issues that Councilman Destin was talking about.
Yeah, and I just point out that the mouth of the harbor, that's traditionally been paid for by the state or the federal government. I would hardly think it would behoove us to tell them, we're going to pay for that now, you don't have to. And the other parts, we can certainly look at, but one of the projects out at the mouth of the harbor, now you're talking about millions of dollars. So I would not want to put them on notice that we're going to pay that ourselves now, no thanks.
All right, and then my only topic on that is, out of the 7 appropriations, one of the 3 is the dredging that's moving forward and has some legs right now. I don't know if anyone who's a little bit smarter than me at the state level wants to talk to Maney and Representative Maney and let them know kind of where this is at. I just don't want to, I don't know exactly the full details of the linear trail and kind of that, but I want to get him as informed as possible to make sure if we don't want to leave him high and dry again or make it look bad. So I don't know what that looks like, if they can come in for more money, but right now we have a $100,000 appropriation bill that's looking favorable. So throwing that out there. All right, so I do have Giles' motion that is amended. I have the second, so I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. Did it go?
That's it from,
All right, good deal. Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. I would ask Ms. Kopp to give us an update on what's happening with our third parcel out on Crystal Beach, the park that we've been trying to build for years and years. I know the rumors float here and there, and I'd like for her to tell us where we are in that.
You have read my mind, because I was going to bring that up under my reports, but happy you beat me to it. So we received a letter of intent from the property owner, and basically the seller is proposing a purchase price of $6.79 million with a 150-day or less closing date. And the seller has offered to put up a $100,000 security deposit to show that he's not going to back out, or it would be refundable, non-refundable to him if he backed out. And he has done away with his prior request for a 1033 exchange, which was the tax complication last time. So at this point, I'm just wanting to ask council, do you want me to proceed to continue with these negotiations with the property owner? Or is this something that, you know, you'd like off the table? Because I can continue to spend time on it and then follow up with Okaloosa County with regard to their possible payment for half of the purchase price, if the council is interested in that, or we can let the property owner know if we're not interested. So I defer to you all.
Councilman Schmidt.
I would continue to talk to the gentleman. After all, was part of the original plan, but it would be contingent upon our friends over at the county participating heavily with us, because otherwise we have to come up with that money, and I don't know where that would come from.
My thoughts or questions are, where are we with the county on what they are? Aren't they wanting to do something with 2 parcels? And they already made plans and they're gonna do something?
We'll let the city engineer start on that answer, and then I
Because
can
that kind
add.
of impacts a lot of this.
They do have some plans put together on the parcels that we currently own. Not a big fan of those at all. It creates a lot of traffic issues. There's a
Right.
lot of dead end pull in, and you have to back out onto Scenic Highway 98 to get out of the park, and it's full. So would be in favor of trying to consolidate properties and have more of a loop-through parking system instead of a back-out system.
And with those plans and ongoing discussions, should we not have more discussion here to actually say that's what we want to continue even doing while we're also talking to a third parcel? Should we not give y'all direction to stop working on plans for 2 parcels that are a hodgepodge of a mess?
The shores at Crystal Beach is what we're talking about, and that is on pause right now. Because we
Okay, so
were
it
gonna
is.
we did talk about doing a property swap, so it paused at that point, it has
Okay.
not started up again.
So when you mention you're not a fan of the current design, it's not ongoing, it's paused?
It's paused, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it won't be unpaused until maybe we talk more
We
about it
figure
here?
out what's gonna happen with the properties and,
Okay.
and what might need
Yeah,
to be done.
I think, yeah, sounds good. Cool, thanks, Ryan.
All right, Councilman King?
Thank you, sir. I'm thinking about our conversation, you know, when this got tabled before, and the situation that the seller was in, which I don't know him, I don't know his situation, but I feel like I would like to know about the appraisal that we have on hand, when it was updated. I don't know that we'll ever be able to meet the demand that we have in this town for real estate, but that property's not worth what it was, in my opinion. I think in 150 days, who knows what's gonna be happening with the real estate? You know, with that piece of real estate especially, I would say, if it was I would say, if we're gonna renegotiate, I think that there needs to be a major haircut.
So to answer your question, we had the appraisal redone, and so the date is October 16th of 2023. So it's about 3.5 months old. And then we received, I'll say this, the amount he has offered is under appraisal by a little bit.
Yeah, and the last a lot has happened in the last 3.5 months with the real estate market. So I'm not in favor of it. I know Mr. Destin in the crowd's probably scoffing at me, but I'm not in favor of negotiating or having any part of it personally.
All right, Councilmember Bagby?
Yeah, I think was clear in our conversation earlier today. I'm not interested in it. I do want to see us open up the other parcel that we own, even if it's for golf cart parking, so that we put pressure on both sides of the parcel that we're talking about as far as use of that beach down there, which is at some point public beach in front of his house. I am still interested in the swap of that third parcel that we have with the contiguous parcel, but they've got to bring some money to the table, and not 50,000, not 75,000. So my conversation with Kim, Ms. Kopp today, I was more than willing for her to go back and have a conversation with Mr. Knowles and say, you know, you want to go above 75,000? Or re-engage him, because I believe the last time he was engaged was with Lance, Mr. Johnson, and then see where they are. But if they're still at 75,000, I'm willing to wait and let people, you know, overflow onto their beach too for another summer. But we're getting, you know, sessions here. The one thing we're going to need, and it may be a while till Crystal gets back, we need to have an appreciation of actually how much money we don't have. And so when we had, before we spent the $9 million, which I was kind of hoping we would stop at 6 million, which I thought we could get it at 6 million, then we would have the 3 million to buy one of these parcels. But we all agreed to buy Harbor One, and we agreed on the price. But the cost of that is now we don't have the 3 million or the 2.5 million that we would have had to spend out in Crystal Beach. So I'm willing to wait with the status quo until, as Johnny says, we can come to a meeting of the minds on the prices. But I would make a motion to authorize our city attorney to engage in a conversation with both parcel owners and just see if their positions have changed and if they have what their current positions are with respect to the prices of their parcels.
Okay, and just to be clear, when you say both parcels, you mean Mr. Knowles as well as this parcel I'm talking about? Talk to both of them, okay.
If you'd include direction of the staff to talk to our friends at the county to try to get exactly what they will do?
I most certainly will include that into the motion.
And I have spoken with Mr. Coffey about it, and my understanding is that if council gives the county a firm understanding of which way they want to go, that it will then be brought to the commissioners, and if the city supports it, then probably county staff would, but I don't think they will support it until we get a definitive council response. So we don't have to have it tonight. I will continue the conversations with both property owners, and I'll come back to you with an update, and we'll talk to the county in between as well.
Great. All right. Yeah, and I've had similar conversations with the same. They seem willing as soon as we understand what we want, and if anything, I think there might be a third option somewhere else as well. So if anything else comes about that's not those two, I think we'd love to hear any other options too. Yeah. We got a motion and a second. Calling the vote. All right, ayes have it. All right. Anything else, Councilman Destin? All right, Councilman Bagby.
Just as an FYI, I've asked the staff to put the quarterly investment report on the next meeting's agenda. It is typically the first meeting of the middle month of the quarter, so that they have a month to generate all the reports. And I understand why it wasn't on tonight's, but they can still come and brief their report. Thank you.
All right, Councilman King.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, John. We're better. We're a better group with you. So not to take away from the man you're replacing, but you're a great addition to this council. So we're glad to have you. Welcome. And that's pretty much all I got. Thanks.
All right, Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you. Do we have any update on looking into the parking lot upgrade change using an app, getting away from code enforcement? Weren't we gonna pursue one lot, possibly do something?
Okay, at the March 4th, I will not be at the next council meeting, but at the March 4th one, we will have an agenda item for you all to consider. We've received 9 responses to an RFP that we've put out. The bid committee has reviewed and made a selection. We'll be bringing that to you March 4th.
I forgot we did an RFP. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
You like that?
Sure. I've had a few calls this week, coincidentally, similar, but parking pass stickers. When you lose a parking pass sticker, it sounds like you can't really get a replacement. That's what I'm being told. And so I said I would ask to understand what the process is of when I lose my parking pass sticker on my car for the annual City of Destin parking lot, how can I get a replacement?
When you say lose,
Falls off, windshield gets taken,
Okay,
whatever.
well, that's simple.
It's just gone. I don't have one anymore.
so the way that it is, and I'll just kind of do a little quick PSA, any Destin resident can come to City Hall and get a free Destin resident parking pass. If you do sell your vehicle, or have something like a windshield back window get broken out, just bring maybe something from Safe Light or something like that, or if you can recover the sticker from the broken windshield, that'd be great. And,
So if you don't have a broken windshield and you didn't sell your car and you don't have your sticker anymore, how do you get a replacement?
I'm not sure that we've ever come across that one before, but just come see us at the front desk at City Hall, and we'll take care of you. You can have 2 per household.
Yes, sir. Troy?
I would just be curious, because those things are, I mean, I broke some fingernails trying to get the last one off, how it came off, if it's not a broken window or your vehicle stolen or stolen.
All I could tell you is coincidentally, I've had 2 people make statements that they were told you can't get one. Prove it.
Well, I mean, there is
because they were told that people are taking them off and giving them to others and then wanting new ones. And if that's what they're being told by staff members, and I'm just...
Well, there needs to be some accountability, and as
Sure.
Michael said, I mean, there's 2 per household, so, I mean, if you're going to claim that you have, it's mystically disappeared, we'd like to see some level of,
Yeah.
Well, we'll look into that.
Look
and see
into
what-
it.
what
Cool.
we have.
Sounds good. I know it's crazy, but 2 calls about that. Hot topics around here. Last item is we had a workshop not too long ago on signs and, sorry, I didn't.
I was just asking the RFPs they said they got.
Yeah, there's 9 of them.
Then that's good. 'Cause I parked in Pensacola last week and they have a lot better system than we do.
I agree. I'm excited about that too.
Councilman Gow,
Okay.
I had you lit up.
It's all good.
All right.
So we had a workshop, and also had some more calls about food trucks. And so I'm going to have direct the city manager and attorney to have staff review the past workshop and bring back summary and suggestions for updating the food truck map in the next 3 to 4 months. No rush. I'm not sure if that's okay timing for y'all or. Okay.
Got a motion? Second. Got a second, Mr. King. Any further discussion? Seeing none, calling the vote.
Sweet.
Ayes have it.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, I have nothing. Oh, okay. Yeah, where do I start? Sorry, I actually had to work last week. So the ECRC, no, I do not have any updates. They had their big event on this past Friday. There's 7 layers to it, and I can forward over to Ray. They gave me a handout of kind of the 7 layers, so I can at least pass that out to you guys. I got that this morning. Man, caught me off guard. I was gonna say no. I don't have anything. City manager, city attorney.
Welcome, Councilmember Stevens. Other than that, I don't have anything, because Dewey stole it.
All right, at this time, public comments. Oh.
Hey, Shane Moody, President and CEO of the Destin Chamber, and I apologize for my voice. I've been battling a terrible cold for about 6 years. I can tell you how you lose the stickers. They peel the frick off. I've got a non-resident, and it's hanging on by its last teeny tiny bit of glue. So I'm gonna have to come up here and get another one probably, but no, I wiped it off real good before I put it on there. I've had it less than 6 months. No, I went like this. It's been on there for about 6 months, and it's hanging on with this last little bit of adhesion. So that is an issue. So just FYI.
Well, hey, Mr. Moody, it's Michael. Hey, how are you? Hey, I would remind you that those expire December 31st, so it's probably time for you to get a new one.
What is ECRC?
Emerald Coast Regional Council, it's the governing body over the TPO.
Okay, can I ask you not to use initials, because the audience has no earthly idea?
That was
what
the
you're
government
talking
guy
about.
over here.
And if Shane doesn't know what it is, I was in trouble. I just wanted to support Mr. Schmidt's idea of replacing the pavilion at Clement Taylor Park. I don't know if you know this or not, but that's the exact footprint of where the first schoolhouse was. That's why it's where it is. So it's almost historical, so I think just tearing it down and doing away with it, you'd have half of Destin upset with you. But anyway, just a thought, and we'll be glad to. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about parks is we're looking at starting the Parks Foundation. So instead of always asking TDC for this and that and the other and whatever, maybe our Parks Foundation can come up with some ideas too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and money. Thanks.
Where is that at, as far as the foundation?
Going to try to have the first meeting this Friday at 3 o'clock now that Ms. Kim says she's available.
Yeah.
And she's, and then we will meet, and then I will turn it over to them and get out of their hair.
Fantastic. Excited. All right. Yes, sir.
My name's Claude Newland. I live at 4033 Indian Trail. I just have one brief comment and a request. First, I'd like to personally congratulate John Stevens on being appointed to the council. I think the council's made an excellent appointment. And then my request is, if you'd be so kind, I would ask that the mayor and the council members would join me briefly after we adjourn right down front so we can do a photo op with our new councilman. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Absolutely. All right. Any other public comments? No? All right. With seeing none, I call this meeting to adjourn.